Hi, what's up guys? Welcome back to the Legal Talk with Madam Attorney. I am back with another video and I'm so excited to be doing this video in particular because it is something quite close to my heart. It touches on women and it is a video where it has affected a lot of women in South Africa, and in the past it had not been challenged, but thanks to Double HP's wife, I must say her name just now, she challenged the norm and the rules, and listen, she was heard, and because of her voice spoke for a whole lot of other women. Now they can also enjoy the fruits of her work and her fight. So yeah man, let me introduce this video and then we get right on with today's topic. Okay guys, so for a marriage to be valid in South Africa, there are 3 requirements that need to be met, and these requirements are listed in section 3 subsection 1 of the Recognition of Customary Marriages Act. Right, I'm gonna read what these requirements are and then we're gonna go and discuss them, and then after that we're gonna get into the Sengati case. Right, okay, so section 3 subsection 1 of the Recognition of Customary Marriages Act provides that, right, for a customary marriage entered into after the commencement of this act to be valid, the prospective spouses must be 1, must both be above the age of 18, must both consent to be married to each other under customary law, and the marriage must be negotiated and entered into or celebrated in accordance with customary law. Right, those are the 3 requirements that need to be met for a valid customary marriage to come into existence. So the first one doesn't give us many issues. You must be 18 in order for you to enter into a customary marriage. 2, you must consent to enter into a customary marriage, right? And then 3 is the tricky one. 3 is the one that has a lot of people, that we all interpreted differently. Before, we thought it was an absolute prerequisite, or it was a must to celebrate the customary marriage. However, in the Sengati case, this was said to be different, right? So the 3rd one says, right, the marriage must be negotiated and entered into, right? The marriage must be negotiated and entered into or celebrated in accordance with customary law. So it must be negotiated, it must be entered into or celebrated. So negotiating and entering into a customary marriage or celebrating it. So you must negotiate it, enter into it. Alternatively, you can celebrate it. So or is not really is not a determining factor, right? That's what we get from the Sengati case. Basically, that's what the whole case summed up things to be, that as long as the person is 18, has consented to being married, they've negotiated the marriage, entered into it, and part payments of the lobola are made. Even if they're not paid in full, as long as part payments of the lobola are made, marriage is negotiated, entered into. Right, it is no longer a strict requirement that the marriage must have been celebrated in order for it to be valid. Now I'm gonna read just paragraphs or snippets from the judgment, the reasoning that was given by the judge when he came to the decision that on the day that the Sengati family and what is the HP's surname, Nzambo family got together, right? On that day when the lobola was negotiated, and after hubby went to pay part payments of the lobola amount, and the aunts from the husband side of the family emerged with the traditional attire for the lady to wear, that saying Bash now wife, and then she was introduced as the wife, and then she was congratulated. That whole thing, ne, it signified or it met the requirements for a customary marriage to have been concluded. So one thing that the judges were all said, that was being said, right? I'm just gonna read, give me a second, I'm gonna read what they're saying, right? I have to find the passage where they are explaining their decision and saying that so basically what all the judges were saying is that strict compliance with rituals has in the past been waived, right? The slaughtering of goats or sheep or whatever would be slaughtered, and you know, the bile being, you know, that whole thing that happens when you are being welcomed into the family has not necessarily been strictly, you know, adhered to. And we cannot use the absence of that one element to invalidate a customary marriage where both people were over 18, where they have both consented to being married to each other, where they have paid lobola, where they have negotiated the lobola and then paid part payments of that lobola, right? So basically what the court said in the case is that if part payments were made, people were 18, they consented to being married to each other, even if the last, which is the celebration and handing over of the bride, did not happen, that does not invalidate the customary marriage. A valid customary marriage has been entered into. So just to bring it, you know, closer to home, guys, we all know that the law has evolved. I mean, customs have evolved. We're now staying in Joburg. We no longer go to the homelands as often, or we don't do the things as they were done 20 years ago. So nowadays, right, you know, people, like, let's just explain a normal setup where there'll be lobola negotiations happening in the morning, and then during the day there'll be celebration of that lobola that took place in the morning, where the bride and the groom will wear their attires and they'll celebrate the lobola, and the bride specifically will be told that now you're a magodi of this family. It will be celebrated. Certain things that happen on that first day where lobola is given, and there's certain maybe there's a celebration of the negotiations of a lobola. Glad on that day, guys, marriage has come into existence. The fact that now we must wait up until the bride is handed over, like there must be, you know, it must be a day of the handing over of the bride, that is not necessary anymore. And I think the reason that is because, guys, let's be honest, sometimes money is an issue. Having these ceremonies are costly. If you're gonna bring people over to, like, say, hey, hi, no, we want to now celebrate, or we're here to hand over and officially welcome the bride into our family, if that does not happen, it doesn't invalidate the fact that this person has entered into a valid customary marriage. So how I interpret it, and how now when we're going to court to prove a valid marriage, we're no longer on that thing, Yuguti, there must have been a celebration of the customary marriage before a wife can claim to be a valid customary wife. Ne? Now, us as the attorneys on the ground, we're like, okay, cool, lobola negotiations were entered into, you were 18, you consented, parents set, negotiated the lobola, part payments of the lobola were made. And that on its own, we go argue a case, and we use the Sengati case as precedent, and we are sure to win that case, because we're like, okay, these people, you know, continue to live together as husband and wife under the impression that yes, they are married. They've met the requirements by being 18, by consenting, by, you know, negotiating the lobola amount, that amount being set, and part payment of that lobola being paid. Clar, marriage comes into existence there, whether they decide to celebrate it or not, that can be waived. They, like, I know Xhosas have a different way of doing it, I know Zulus have a different way of doing it, I know Tswanas have a different way of doing it, but now the courts are saying it is no longer a strict requirement that cannot be waived for a bride to be handed over or the marriage to be celebrated, right? If you celebrate lobola negotiations, and lunch is done, and families acknowledge each other as abomkhozi, indeed done, lobola marriage has come, a customary marriage has come into existence. That's how we on the ground practicing attorneys are interpreting the case, and that's how we're now winning our cases, just based on that. Whether they celebrated the marriage or not is no longer a requirement. So now for the people at home and the people who know, would say, okay, fine, we did lobola, we're staying together, but he did not finish. He does not really need to finish. You are a customary wife. You can take your spouse and go register the marriage. I think a lot of things come into play, because yes, people could have intended that, that day, guys, customs and how we apply indigenous law to different communities is different. So yes, again, we do have to say, we will have to look at the specific circumstances of each case. But if there were acts that are in compliance with the requirements, listen, a valid customary marriage has come into existence. This was, this ruling was given in the High Court. It was confirmed by the Supreme Court of Appeal. We're waiting. Apparently, there are news that it might, allegedly, it might go to the Constitutional Court for ruling, but that hasn't happened. So at this point, we as attorneys are so happy that the celebration of the marriage is not a necessity, it's not like a strict requirement, because we can then argue a valid customary marriage based on the fact that they were 18, they consented, lobola negotiations were done, and part payments were made. So done, we're good. So now to answer this question on a more practical note, then we can safely conclude that payment of lobola, right, together with the elements, that are on section 3 of the Recognition of Customary Marriages Act, right, means my valid customary marriage came into existence. That's what the position is. And honestly, we are glad, because that has changed the positions of so many black women that had been paid lobola for, that have stayed with their in-laws, but then suddenly when one of them passes away, then in-laws are quick to say, yeah, but we did not finish paying the lobola. But you're waiting for this person to pass away before you can then say this person is not a customary wife. So the position changed a lot for a lot of South African women. They can safely now register their marriages, or even if they do it after the spouse passing away, but they can do it because the law now is on their side. If you celebrate lobola negotiations, uqedile, ushadile, done, klar nje. So for those people that would pay lobola and not finish, and then think they can easily move on, a position has changed, baba. It's no longer like that. The fact that you paid lobola, person was 18, consented, lobola was paid, means that you are customarily married. And if you are thinking of marrying someone else in terms of civil marriage, you must first get consent from your spouse, especially if you did not divorce her. Even if you married her customarily, you must first get consent. And then if you marry another wife without divorcing that one, that second wife, that second customary marriage is valid, but the first marriage is in terms of commutative property, and the second one is out of commutative property. So niggas better be careful, because the law is protecting the women now, and I absolutely just love that so much. It's been a long time coming, and women deserve it. They deserve that protection. They have been left they've suffered enough, basically. So yeah, that was it for today's topic. Requirements for a valid marriage. Malobolo mean you are customarily married. Klar. So basically saying is that nowadays the celebration or the handing over of the customer of the bride is no longer a determining factor for a marriage to be valid. Whether that happens or not does not invalidate umshado or the marriage. I hope we're clear. I hope it's helpful. And yeah, man, you do have to look at the circumstances of each case. But if part payment of the lobola was made and the marriage came into existence, that's it. So yeah, man, that was it from us today. I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of content. If you do, please give this video a big thumbs up. Please subscribe, please share it, tell your friends and family. And again, if you have, you know, questions that you're not clear on, consult. Let's hear what your specific circumstances are, and let's see if we can apply the principles in this Sengati case to your case and win it. You know, love you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.